At 11:54 a.m. on December 13, 2009, a home security camera in a quiet Henderson, Nevada retirement community captured a young man parking his car at the end of a cul-de-sac. He steps out, dressed neatly in a white shirt and slacks, carrying a portfolio. He strides away down the sidewalk, past the camera's view, and is never seen again. This figure is Steve Koecher, and his background is notably free of the typical risk factors associated with missing person cases. He is a 30-year-old Eagle Scout, a devout Mormon, and a journalist with a clean record and no known history of criminal activity. When the local homeowners association inspected his abandoned car several days later, they found a half-full tank of gas and freshly purchased Christmas presents, including a baby's bib and cookies, sitting in the back seat. The physical contents suggested he intended to drive back to Utah for the holidays. But when police pulled Stephen's digital and financial records from the preceding 72 hours, his movements began to deviate from the profile of a man simply preparing for Christmas. While the belongings in his car pointed toward a return home, his digital trails suggested he was moving in a different direction, tracking a series of events that investigators would struggle to align with his physical preparations. By late 2009, Stephen's home in St. George, Utah, was at the center of a severe economic downturn. He was several months behind on his rent and working a menial job distributing flyers for a window washing company just to survive. This financial pressure led to the hypothesis that Stephen may have been acting as a courier for illicit goods or cash to clear his debts. Before vanishing, he completed an erratic 1,100-mile road trip from St. George to Salt Lake, west to Wendover, and back. Yet, after parking in Henderson, his phone remained active. It traveled 14 miles north into Las Vegas, pinging towers for 2 days until the battery died. However, the physical evidence did not support a drug-running operation. Drug-sniffing dogs found no trace of narcotics in Stephen's car, and his bank account held exactly $2, hardly the payout expected for a high-risk delivery. Investigators also scoured his devices and found no burner accounts or encrypted communications. As we see in this image of a typical public computer lab, Stephen used standard terminals to conduct his business, leaving a digital footprint that showed a search for legitimate employment rather than underground activity. A criminal operation usually leaves a trail of payments or secure contacts. In Stephen's case, the digital and financial records show a total absence of the infrastructure required to move illicit goods. 1 week before Stephen vanished, another disappearance captured the region's attention. Susan Powell went missing from her home in West Valley City, Utah, creating an intense media focus on her husband, Josh. During the investigation, Josh Powell's father publicly alleged that Susan had not been harmed, but instead eloped with Steve Koecher to start a secret life. Police investigated the claim and found it baseless. The theory was eventually exposed as a distraction fabricated by the Powell family to redirect suspicion away from Josh, who would later murder his children and kill himself. Cases like these often attract false narratives from those looking to obscure the truth, creating noise that forces investigators to spend valuable time chasing leads with no basis in fact. Stephen's family proposed a different explanation. He had been lured to Henderson by a predatory job offer. They believe someone exploited his financial situation by setting up a meeting under false pretenses. His appearance in the video, neatly dressed and carrying a portfolio, aligns with someone arriving for a professional meeting. Even the choice to park a few blocks away from a destination is a common instruction used by those looking to keep a meeting private or an applicant off balance. Private investigators later looked into this community and found a resident who appeared excessively nervous when questioned. They also noted records of a room in the neighborhood that had been heavily damaged at the same time Stephen went missing. However, this theory faces a significant hurdle. Professional interviews are rarely scheduled on a Sunday morning in the middle of a residential retirement community. There is also the matter of the phone pings. If Stephen met with foul play inside that specific neighborhood, his phone could not have traveled 14 miles across the city over the next 48 hours, nor could it have been used to check his voicemail the following morning. The interview theory explains why he was in that cul-de-sac with a portfolio, but it is incompatible with the digital evidence showing his phone moving through Las Vegas. The final map of Stephen's movements shows a sharp divide. He bought gifts for a family trip to Utah and left them in his car, then drove to a cul-de-sac in Nevada and walked away into a neighborhood where he had no known ties.
His case highlights the vulnerability created by severe financial stress. It shows how the need for a paycheck can lead a person to ignore potential red flags and enter situations they might otherwise avoid. Despite leaving behind a trail of cell phone pings, store receipts, and hours of CCTV footage, Steve Koecher vanished. The sheer volume of data did not bring him home. In the modern age, we expect every digital footprint to lead to an answer. But in Steven's case, all those data points only serve to map the exact coordinates of where the trail ends.